Hey Thomas, how are you?
Jonathan, doing wonderful, my friend. Wonderful. What do you got for me today?
We were reading an article before about small business owners that were 43% of them were delinquent on their rent and payment and overall payment. So why don't we talk about that, how it's affecting,
Sure.
trickling
Sure.
down and affecting everyone else?
Well, you know what it comes to, again, it's the sign in the economy, what's happening, and it's snowballing. You think about that: 43% of the small businesses didn't pay their rent in full; it didn't pay rent at all.
Yep.
And small businesses in America actually employ 57 million people in this country. All right. Now, you also, on top of that, you have small businesses have $3 trillion in debt in America. So, a lot of them have to, if they're going to be looking for loans or credit lines, it's going to get tougher, especially if you're not paying your rent or you're behind in your bills, and also with the interest rate. So, who the
Yeah.
heck wants to borrow money with the interest rate it's at? And the worse your business credit, the higher the rate's going to be, or you may not even get any money because banks are really tightening up. They're even tightening up on corporate credit cards on the amount that you can spend. You might have had a limit of like $50,000, and now it's cut down to like 30,000 or 20,000, and that's hurting businesses out there. Because the laws on the credit cards have changed because of the Biden administration and certain fees. So, credit card companies are going to look for other, avenues they can make that money up on. So that's what's going to happen. You're going to see other fees. One thing I came across, which was interesting, I learned earlier this week that that pay for later type of program, buy it now, pay for it later.
Yep.
Okay, that's going to start showing up on people's credit cards. Excuse me, not credit cards, on their credit reports on the pay for later. Before it never did. Now all of a sudden it is. I never do that, thank God. I never had to.
Right.
But how many people are buying unnecessary stuff and putting on the pay for later? Now that's going to go through your credit score. That's not cool. Now you got to be, you start really being careful.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on that?
I mean, your credit is so obviously your credit is so important, right? If you're a younger person trying to buy, a house or trying to get a loan for a car, obviously your credit's everything. So yeah, it's if that is a pathway to reduce your score by being delinquent on payments, because let's face it, a lot of these programs they work where I've seen it a lot, like oil companies or like if you're trying to install a boiler or air conditioning companies or swimming pool companies, they'll actually do all the work. You go do all the financing and you don't make a payment for like 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times people are like, oh, I can get it now and swim all summer, or I can get it now and I don't make any payments for 12 months. And then
Mm-hmm.
guess what? When 12 months comes up and that, big payment starts coming in, then they start hitting the walls, not knowing what to do. So it's kind of like we're setting everyone up to fail because you're
Exactly.
giving them all this credit. People, are running their credit card bills higher and higher, making minimum payments, and we all know how that goes. You make the minimum payment, you'll never pay it off. It'll take like 20 years to pay it off.
Yeah,
So
it's not a good situation, and like you said, it's setting people up for fail. And again, I've always said I think things are being engineered not only economically but also politically in this country.
yep.
And unfortunately, the people, the people, we are just pawns on the chessboard. We're the throwaway pieces in the game. They don't really give two flying shits about us. Um, Listen, if you're debt free and you got cash on the sidelines, you're going to make through all this stuff, even with inflation. But, unfortunately, majority of people aren't in that position. And I feel for people, especially if they have families.
Yeah, I mean it really we the people need to really come together and find ways to help, not only ourselves but everyone else. How can we, you don't buy the things you don't need, right? Don't extend your credit beyond what you can do. Don't buy the house that you can't afford just because you want to buy. Buy the one that you can afford. Buy the things
Yeah.
that you can afford. I'm a big believer of not extending myself over what I can do because
Mhm.
you don't know what tomorrow may bring. And I mean, look, not talking about politics, but this is going to be a very difficult time, and crazy things are happening every day now with what's going on in the courts and with Trump and Biden and whatnot. it's you don't know what tomorrow may bring, and what next year will bring. So we need to really be careful with what we spend. It's not ever since COVID, the rents have been crazy, right? So if you're a business owner, I know during COVID, a lot of businesses closed, right? They had all closed pretty much.
Mhm.
And what were they doing with those payments? Who was paying those rents? Were they, did the tenant not pay? Did the landlord not make them pay? Did they come to an agreement? A lot of them came to agreements, right? But guess
Mhm.
what? You always had to pay your property taxes. That was never going to stop. So someone is getting screwed somewhere, right? So if you have a commercial building with 10 tenants in there, you got your property tax, your insurance, you're still having to pay that, even though the tenants aren't in there anymore because they
Mhm.
legally couldn't work. So ever since then, you think that the rents would have went down because we see retail spots all over the place that are closed or empty, no one's in there, people are not renting them.
Mhm.
So you would think rents would go down because there's a big availability, but they didn't go down. Rents went up.
Yep.
So I can feel for that small business owner, like we started with, they can't pay those bills, and a lot of the landlords aren't giving them the leeway
Mhm.
that they may need. And so it's a difficult thing. That's why we said a few weeks ago, I'm noticing a lot of retail companies, they're pulling their business out of retail and going full e-commerce, building an e-commerce website, market the website to the max, and get rid of that retail space that's costing them, thousands of dollars. But
Oh yeah, unfortunately, I think the way the game plan's set up by the elitists of the world, um, you're going to see a lot of small businesses go to the wayside. I
yeah,
think big corporations are just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're heading towards serfdom. And if you don't know what serfdom is, go look it up and read about the Middle Ages, where the people are just basically servants to your renters, and that's what it is. You're just going to be renting, and it's going to affect different generations, and that's what it's going to come down to. I see it. Hey, listen, I'm older. I'm a student of history. I see what's going on, and it's just a very sad situation. People, especially if you're an American, you know what? If you don't know your Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution, then you're a fool. You need to know that because that's your true birth certificate. If you're an American, is your U.S. Constitution. Know what it is, learn it, and know it inside and out. Because if you know your rights, because what's happening in this country, our government, I don't care if Republican or Democrat, because they're both the same, the majority of them. And the reason why they hate a guy like Trump, he was only a politician for 4 years of his life. The rest of these people, you look at Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, I mean, they're like 30, 40 years in the game. They've made it a lifestyle for themselves. So, and unfortunately, those people decide what our futures are, economically. So it does affect you. So you have to know what's going on.
yeah.
But again, if I start getting into politics, then we're taking away from creative knowledge. But hopefully, the knowledge part is, you go out and know the Constitution, know what it's all about. So at least you'll know your rights. Listen, hopefully, we're giving you creative knowledge for you. We appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up, that like button, and you guys have yourself a great day. Take care.
Take care, everyone.